Medina J. Nance. I'm a certified herbalist as well as a natural health teacher and a health consultant. Welcome to Herban Renewal. Every week we have a different topic, and today's topic is definitely long overdue. Today's topic is called Save the Children. Save the children. You'd be surprised at what's going on today in the world, particularly in the U.S. and in the inner cities with our children. I've got a lot of articles here and a lot of information, so you might want to make a phone call, call a couple people, because if you have children, you definitely want to stay tuned into this segment, Save the Children. Now, I'm going to start off with an article that I actually got off the internet from the Chicago Tribune. They did a health series, and this was last year in 2008. And it's titled, Many More Children on Medication, Study Says. Over 6 million children are on meds. Over 17 million of our children are on drugs for mental illnesses. As a matter of fact, yesterday on CNN, I saw where they were talking about concerns that they have, and these are new concerns. I've seen them over the year over the drugs for ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And these are common. It says here hundreds of thousands more children are taking medications for chronic diseases, with a huge spike over a 4-year period in the number given drugs to treat conditions once seen primarily in adults, and now linked to what has become an epidemic of childhood obesity. The Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say the numbers of children with type 2 diabetes is on the rise. Type 2 diabetes, which used to be called adult onset diabetes, begins when the body develops resistance to insulin and can no longer use it properly. Eventually, the body can no longer produce sufficient amounts of insulin to regulate blood sugar. So we're seeing an upsurge of this in our children. Still, there's an increasing unease in some circles that doctors are prescribing medication without exhausting non-pharmacological options. Well, in all seriousness, and it might seem strange hearing this from an herbalist, doctors really aren't trained in how to deal with a lot of these disorders nutritionally. In other words, doctors basically learn about drugs and surgery, chemo and radiation. So that's the reason why we're seeing so many children on drug medications. Well, like they said, with disease, you mainly saw in adults. Now you're seeing in children. It says here, there are concerns that we're moving too quickly to drug therapy. They did not look at all medication looks, but focus on drugs for high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, asthma, depression, and attention deficit disorders. The number of children on diabetes medication is relatively small. Okay, I don't know what they mean by relatively small in comparison to what, but they say relatively small. But the findings included one of the more surprising trends, a large number of girls on the drugs. The number of girls ages 10 to 14 on the medication rose 166%. And the figure for those ages 15 to 19 rose 133%. She said overweight children regularly come into the hospital's weight management and wellness center on metformin, having been told they have diabetes, but testing their blood sugar turns out that their blood sugar is normal. She believes that some doctors are using metformin, which can lead to appetite loss, as a diet pill. That's an inappropriate use. In other words, we don't know how to control the diet of our youth. So the doctor, when they see them, they might see if they're doing an A1C test, maybe they're pre-diabetic, but they're overweight, so they'll put them on metformin, a hypoglycemic drug. Management of obesity is very frustrating. We talk about lifestyle changes, but how many of us are successful in changing lifestyle when the environment is so toxic? When you give somebody a medication, the psychology of the patient is the medication is doing the job. So I don't need to change the way I'm eating or moving or drinking. And that's not just for the children, that's for society at large. And if you think about it, that is the psychology. Medication is not by itself a solution. So I just thought I'd read that article starting off because when we do move in those directions, you get propaganda in the news. I've seen one commercial that is big time propaganda. And I'm sure a lot of you all have seen it. They're in a barber shop. It's an attractive young lady and she's cutting a man's hair. And in the meantime, you see two gentlemen talking. And an older gentleman said, I take lots of garlic. Because garlic lowers your cholesterol. And the other young man says, oh no, garlic, that's good for your memory. And he said, who told you that? And he said, I forgot. And then everybody in the barbershop laughs. And then the lady chides in and says, actually, studies show garlic doesn't really lower cholesterol. Eating less fatty food and exercising lowers cholesterol. My first thought when I saw that commercial is, number one, I know that's propaganda because garlic does help eat up bad fats and lower cholesterol. I wouldn't use it and say it cures high cholesterol, but it does help. People have been using that for years. My grandparents use it. Talk to your people to see they used it. But if you have to be told to eat less fatty food and exercise in order to lower cholesterol, that's common sense. So she told it like it was a study that was done, and the study showed if you eat less fatty food and exercise, that'll lower your cholesterol. That's propaganda, people. It is propaganda. I've been hearing propaganda for years. Anytime you find something natural that is being utilized, you get propaganda. So that ties into that psychology of it's just easier to subscribe a pill, and that way people don't have to make many changes, which is okay for a lot of us adults, but we have to think about the children. And we have a myriad of problems. I have people coming in, and I have over the years with ADD, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, asthma, sinuses. There's a commercial that was out recently that I saw, a beautiful young lady. She says she's a jewelry designer. And she said she had an asthma attack, and one visit for an asthma attack, she got a bill for $17,000. People, not 1,700, but 17,000. Now they say it's over 46 million. I'm sure the number is much larger of people who are uninsured. Can you imagine a person who has a savings account and you have one asthma attack and you have a bill for $17,000? I like the way she said, I can't pay it. I just can't. And then of course she had to get some creditors to help her balance her account. So she's in debt to pay for one visit. Let me tell you something. And I'm not experimenting. I'm not joking around. I'm not playing. If you have asthma or you have sinus, it's no more than mucus and bacteria. You can get rid of that. And it doesn't cost anywhere near 1,700, let alone 17,000. So there is something inherently backward in the sense, and I wanted to read this article. If you just tuned in, you missed an article that I read about how more and more children are going on drug medications unnecessarily because the doctors